Financial markets, ever sensitive to whispers of change, reacted with a flurry of watching closely as this story unfolds. Tariffs, essentially taxes levied on imported goods, have been the weapon of choice in this protracted trade war. These taxes are imposed by governments to protect domestic industries from foreign competition, generate revenue, or retaliate against unfair trade practices. However, the consequences of such measures often ripple through the economy in unexpected ways. These tariffs have driven up the cost of goods for businesses and consumers alike. When businesses face higher costs for imported materials or products, they often pass these costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices. This can lead to inflation, reducing the purchasing power of consumers, and potentially slowing down economic growth. The current rates, reaching a staggering 145% on some Chinese products, have effectively choked the free flow of goods between the two economic giants. This has not only strained diplomatic relations, but also disrupted global supply chains, affecting industries far beyond the borders of the countries directly involved. Imagine a local grocery store suddenly having to pay a 145% tax on imported fruits. The price of bananas, mangoes, and kiwis would skyrocket, leaving shoppers grappling with exorbitant prices. This scenario is not just limited to fruits. It extends to a wide range of products, from electronics to clothing, making everyday life more expensive for the average consumer. The skyrocketing prices would force consumers to make tough choices, potentially cutting back on other essential purchases or seeking cheaper alternatives. This shift in consumer behavior can have a cascading effect on the economy, impacting sales and revenue for businesses across various sectors. This simple analogy illustrates the disruptive impact of high tariffs on a much larger scale. When tariffs are imposed on a wide range of goods, the cumulative effect can be devastating, leading to reduced trade volumes, lower economic growth, and increased uncertainty in the market. These tariffs are not merely abstract economic tools, they represent a tangible burden on businesses and consumers. Small businesses, in particular, often lack the financial cushion to absorb these additional costs, making them more vulnerable to the negative impacts of tariffs. The escalating costs have squeezed profit margins, forcing businesses to make difficult decisions about raising prices or absorbing losses. This can lead to layoffs, reduced investment in innovation, and a general slowdown in business activity, further exacerbating economic challenges. Consumers, in turn, have faced higher prices for everyday goods, from electronics to clothing. This has led to a decrease in disposable income, as more of their budget is allocated to essential items, leaving less room for discretionary spending. The uncertainty surrounding the trade war and the constant threat of new tariffs have created a climate of volatility and apprehension. Investors are wary, stock markets fluctuate, and businesses are hesitant to commit to long-term plans, fearing sudden changes in trade policies. Businesses have been hesitant to make long-term investment decisions, fearing that the rules of the game might change overnight. This hesitation stifles innovation and growth, as companies adopt a wait-and-see approach, delaying projects and expansions that could drive economic progress. Against this backdrop of escalating tensions, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's recent remarks have offered a glimmer of hope. Bessent, known for his measured approach and deep understanding of global financial markets, acknowledged the unsustainable nature of the current trade war. In a carefully worded statement, he emphasized the need for de-escalation and a return to more balanced trade relations. The current situation is not in anyone's best interest, he asserted, highlighting the economic toll the trade war has taken on both nations. Bessent's remarks suggest a growing recognition within the administration that the trade war has reached an inflection point. The economic costs, coupled with growing uncertainty and market volatility, have prompted a reassessment of strategy. However, Bessent also emphasized that any tariff reductions would need to be reciprocal. The U.S., he stressed, would not unilaterally disarm in this economic standoff. China, too, would need to make concessions and demonstrate a commitment to fairer trade practices. His words reflect a pragmatic approach, acknowledging the need for both sides to find common ground. Section 4. Market Jitters. Gauging Global Sentiment. The initial market reaction to President Trump's announcement and Bessent's subsequent comments was one of cautious optimism. Investors and analysts alike were keenly watching the developments, hoping for a breakthrough that could ease the ongoing trade tensions. The announcement hinted at a possible reduction in tariffs, which had been a significant point of contention between the two economic giants. Wall Street, often seen as a barometer of investor sentiment, responded with a surge in stock prices. The optimism was palpable as traders celebrated the potential for improved trade relations, which many believed could lead to a more stable economic environment. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, a key indicator of U.S. market performance, jumped by several hundred points as investors interpreted the news as a sign of thawing relations between the two economic superpowers. This surge was seen as a positive signal, reflecting the market's hope for a resolution to the trade war that had been causing uncertainty and volatility. Asian markets, equally sensitive to developments in the U.S.-China trade saga, followed suit. The ripple effect of the announcement was felt across the globe, with investors in Asia reacting to the potential for a more predictable trading environment. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong, the Nikkei 225 in Japan, and the Kospi in South Korea all experienced significant gains. These markets, which are highly interconnected with the global economy, saw a boost as investors grew hopeful that the trade tensions might ease, leading to better economic prospects. This initial euphoria, however, proved short-lived. As the hours passed, the initial excitement began to wane. Investors started to scrutinize the details of the announcement more closely, realizing that many questions remained unanswered. As details surrounding the potential tariff reductions remained elusive, and with China's response yet to be fully gauged, uncertainty crept back into the markets. The lack of concrete information led to a sense of unease, as market participants were unsure about the next steps in the trade negotiations. The initial surge in stock prices was tempered, and market watchers settled into a more cautious holding pattern, awaiting further clarity on the path forward. Analysts began to advise caution, suggesting that it was too early to celebrate a resolution to the trade conflict. The trade war, it seemed, was far from over. Despite the initial optimism, the complexities of the negotiations and the deep-seated issues between the two countries meant that a quick resolution was unlikely. Investors and analysts would need to remain vigilant, closely monitoring any new developments in the ongoing saga. China's response to the U.S. announcements has been measured and calculated. While welcoming the prospect of dialogue and a potential easing of tensions, Chinese officials have also made it clear that they will not be bullied into concessions. China is open to dialogue and negotiation, but we will not bow to pressure or accept unfair demands, stated a spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry. China's stance reflects a delicate balancing act. On the one hand, the country is feeling the economic strain of the trade war. The tariffs have impacted Chinese businesses, particularly those reliant on exports to the U.S. The Chinese government is eager to find a resolution that will stabilize the economy and restore business confidence. On the other hand, China is acutely aware of the optics involved. The Chinese leadership cannot be seen as capitulating to U.S. demands or compromising on core principles of national sovereignty and economic independence.